Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on Ronin on Trail. We have a very special guest today. So if you're thinking about becoming a nomad, overlanding, living in a car, van, or SUV, my next guest has a great story to tell.
My name's Kyle. I'm with the Royal Canadian Navy out of Ottawa, Ontario, and I'm just starting out on my journey of van life. Okay, so this is a 2019 Dodge Caravan. I paid around $20,000 for it from the dealership. It had 5 kilometers on it when I took it for a test drive. I think it just rolled over to $40,000. I wanted to start off small with the van. I can't go too small with the motorcycle because I don't have my motorcycle license yet. Something I've been talking about for a while. Based off of some van life videos I've been watching on Chrome's channel and out in BC, I decided to go with the van life and then the caravan. I remember one time as a kid coming up to Toronto Zoo with my aunt and uncle way back many years ago, and we actually slept in a Firebird. Oh, baby! Because we forgot a tent and we couldn't camp. So I think that's kind of where it started, and knowing that people can actually stay small. And going on military exercises with the cadets, which I volunteer with, I'm always the one that decides not to stay in a tent. I always set up a cot in the back of a pickup truck and do overlanding when I'm out with the cadets. So that's what kind of got me on the path. So in 2014, I traveled the world with the Royal Canadian Navy on board HMCS Regina. We set sail from Esquimalt, BC, traveled across the Pacific to the Indo-Asia area, and carried on into the Indian Ocean, where we did counterterrorism missions and essentially boarded vessels searching for drugs that would lead to money being flown into terrorism around the world.
So thank you for your service, serving in the military and protecting our country.
I don't consider myself a hero. I'll put that out there right now. I'm just part of a bigger picture, bigger project, a bigger mission. I'm just a tiny part of that. In the Army and in the Canadian Forces are the guys on the front line that are actually fighting the fight. Those are who I consider in the military to be our heroes. I consider myself a nomad. I've been in Ottawa for 3 years. I'm ready to move on to a new place. I find I can't stay in one place very long. Last summer I took a trip to Algonquin Park for 4 days. I had 4 days of campsites booked. So I've always got to be on the move, always exploring. Chrome is a good example of that in BC. He's always wanting to go, always want to see something different. I'm just like that. I can't sit still. So I consider myself a nomad because I like to travel and I don't necessarily want roots in one spot.
To your fellow brothers and sisters out there who are considering a minimalist life, downsizing, what can you say for or against?
If you've been thinking about it and you want to do it, just do it. There's no other way. Don't be afraid. Just get out there and do it and enjoy it. I thought I needed tons of clothing, but you really don't. I find when I'm out traveling, I don't use that many clothes. So you can have a small, say, duffel bag for each season. And every couple weeks I thin that clothing out and donate it. One thing with me that I need power, because I have a sleep apnea machine in the cooler. So I've got myself a Jackery 1000 that charges my CPAP machine. So power would be the one that I thought I would need more of, which I've recently purchased a second 180-watt solar panel for the roof, which I will be putting on top to keep my sleep apnea machine going so I can stay breathing in the middle of the night. So I have a Barouge. It's a very small cooler. I think it's only like a 21-quart cooler, just to store the essentials for a few days at a time. To start, you definitely do not need to go out and buy the fancy cooler, have the power. I did it all last summer with just a cooler. You can just do a basic cooler with ice. For me, my kayak is very important. My kayak and my bicycle. I love getting out on the water, Navy guy, so I love being on the water. Getting up 4 o'clock in the morning before the sunrise, get my butt in the water, see the sunrise, like that is essential.
So what are some of the things you do to maintain your own personal self-care?
I've recently started getting into yoga. I plan on doing some more meditation style, and then reaching out to friends, talking to friends. But it's also good to get out in the forest, watch the sunrise, have a coffee, and just take that time to relax and zen. With COVID, travel, move it's been kind of restricted, but I want to tour the East Coast and hit up all the provinces, including Newfoundland, before I go back to BC, which will probably be in a couple of years with my career. It'll probably take me back that way. I love cooking one pan or one pot meals. My favorite is breakfast. I always do a breakfast hash, potatoes, peppers, onions, egg, cheese, one pot, one pan. I can eat that breakfast, lunch, dinner.
So what do you want to say in regards to addressing things like failing and falling down and faltering?
If you're failing and falling down, it's not a bad thing. It's part of wearing the uniform. It helps you build. It helps you become the person that you're going to be. But if you're falling and you need help, reach out. The person that I reach out to the most is a really good friend of mine. She's a retired police officer, retired military officer. There's a stigma about how you're a bad person if you're down and falling, but you're not. If it's coming to that and you feel like you're falling, reach out for help. Whether it's to a close friend, someone like me you don't even know, I'm sure my information will be linked below. If you're having one of those moments, just reach out. I'm always a phone call, text away for a chat, and I don't mind chatting to anybody. The biggest thing is if you're at that point and you need to reach out to someone, just reach out to someone and talk. And I have a YouTube channel as well. It's just Kyle Ruttan, and I kind of don't know where I'm going with that YouTube channel at this point. I've got everything from geocaching adventures to photos I've thrown together or quick little videos I've put together of emergency vehicles and all kinds of stuff like that, drone footage.
Is there anything you want to share, shout out, mention?
I'd like to give a shout out to your story. It's great. If anyone's seeing this video for the first time, go back and check out all the other Ronin on Trail videos. Really good story.
Just to mention, I didn't pay him to say that, okay? When I get in my vehicle, I always say to myself, this is not a truck, this is my home.
This is the cockpit area. I normally have a shelf that comes up in the passenger seat, and on the one shelf is where I keep my camera gear, my binoculars, and then on the top is just an open area where I put the cat's bed, so when the cat's traveling with me, he can sit up on top and he's perched there. When I am driving and the shelf's on there, it's seat belted in, seatbelt's pulled all the way out, so it's locked in place and it will not move.
What's your cat's name?
Chandler.
Look at me! I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
The cooler's not normally here. It's just because it's a day trip. I had moved the cooler up front so it's closer to the vehicle inverter. I have a Jackery 1000, which when I am stationary, this is where the cooler is hooked up to. And then I have a smaller Jackery 300 back here, which charges my laptop, my cell phone, and my drone batteries. So in the bed, I have a full-length twin bed, which is just cut down a couple inches in width. And then I have my Middle Eastern blanket that I brought back from my last deployment. Off to the side here, I have a storage unit, just 5 drawers. In there, I keep just the basic clothing, and then GoPro gear, my drone gear. I normally keep my kayak here on this side, but the kayak is at home in Kingston right now. I have a Thule rooftop carrier, which houses my kayaking gear, extra propane. Have the garage door up, and in the back, this is where I keep the cooler. So the cooler sits in here, the cable runs up to the front for charging. Underneath here, I store things such as my coffee equipment and my stove. And then I have my JETBOIL coffee boiler as well. One of the next little modifications that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building another shelf right here because the cooler is not that high and I have lots of room. And then underneath that is going to be my pot and pan that I use because I only have one pot, I only have one pan. And I bought a pot that has a strainer lid on it so I can boil pasta. Keep my ladder for geocaching. And then I just have all my backpacks, They normally go here. My waterproof bag and anything I just want to hang, jackets and whatnot, just hangs up back here. Kind of like your garage storage area. Extra water, dish pan, and then my food, dry food, gets stored underneath. So this is my most recent purchase, a little 4x8 trailer. I'm going to be taking it back and doing some modifications to it. I'm going to be putting a rack system on it so I can put my kayak back here along with my Thule rooftop carrier, and then it frees up more room on the roof for more solar, because that's the main thing. I want to be able to go and park and not have to run the vehicle to charge up those jackeries, because my CPAP machine uses 50% of the battery in 8 hours. So with two 180 watts solar panels, it will top it up quick.
And what do you do for cold weather?
I haven't experienced the cold weather yet. The coldest I've gotten is like 3-4 degrees, which is not that bad. Throw an extra blanket on. Obviously with that, with no heat source, there's condensation that builds up from just the moisture that you release in the night.
Are you leaning towards propane, diesel, gas?
I'm leaning towards a diesel heater instead of propane, just because propane is a wet source of heat. I want a dry source of heat. So this is the other side of the bed here. I don't normally use this door to come and go. I like having the in and out on the other side just so it's quick access. I won't do it right now, but this flips up and I have access to all the under storage. So I've taken out the stowaway seats and I've got two huge storage areas underneath the seat.
Have you spent any money on repairs? And do you have a slush fund or contingency fund? And how important is that?
So I haven't had to do any repairs yet, but because I did buy it brand new from the dealership, it's still under warranty. Being in van life, you should always have a slush fund of money kicking around for things that break when they break, especially if you get into older vehicles. I'm not saying don't go buy an older vehicle, because sometimes the older vehicles are the way to go. But just have a little slush fund of money around just in case those incidents happen. So in the vehicle, I carry around an electric pump with me so I can pump up the tires if required. I have a tire patching kit that I carry on with me. First aid kit, because you never know when you're going to need your first aid kit. I came back from my deployment in 2014. Twice in a week being back, I did first aid at 2 vehicle accidents that happened in front of me. You may need that first aid kit for yourself, but chances are you're not going to need it for yourself. You're going to need it for something else that you see along the road. I have a camera system on the car, so if the car gets a little bump, it automatically starts recording. And I have little warning stickers on the camera or on the van too that let people know that.
With your hand on your heart, please tell me which way to go, 'cause I sure don't know. One piece in hand, it's a start, but it's a mighty puzzle to lay. No need to say
I don't consider myself a hero. I'm just starting out on my journey of van life.